everyone. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. I am back. I'm never usually gone, but I'm back. Thank you so much, Thomas and Josie, who will be returning next week, for taking care of the show. You guys are just amazing, and that was such a good episode. So good that I'm linking that episode back into the description. You should go check it out. Those two are a hoot. So anyway, today we will be talking about housing and specifically housing for all. And so we have our guest, Kaylin Rosal, who I met at the Basic Needs Summit. I work at the Basic Needs Resource Center at Mount San Antonio College, and we had a big giant conference where a bunch of basic needs teams came together and learned some amazing, wonderful things. And she gave an amazing talk that was just so amazing. I felt inspired, and I just had to go up to her and say, hey, you need to be on my show. So she's on our show now, and yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and bring her on. All right, and we have the wonderful Kaylin Rosal here. Hello, Kaylin. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for being on the show. Could you go ahead and introduce the audience of and tell the audience about your wonderful self?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Kaylin Rosal. I am from San Diego, California, and I work at Cuyamaca College, which is one of our local East County community colleges, where I'm the coordinator of Cuyamaca Cares, which is our basic rights center, formerly known as Basic Needs Center, but we're changing all of that to be rights.
Yeah.
That is so inspiring. And I just want to also give some context to the audience that I went ahead and attended that summit, and you were just an inspiration, and I have a lot to take back to my college, and we're going to be doing some changes.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I hope so.
And so yeah, let's go ahead in our conversation. So this week we are going to be talking about housing for all. Before we start our conversation, I just want to go ahead and share with y'all Bernie Sanders's Housing for All plan. And the key points of this plan, this will be linked into the description below. But his plan wants to end the housing crisis by investing $2.5 trillion to build 10 million permanently affordable housing units, protecting tenants by implementing a national rent control standard. He also wants to make rent affordable by making Section 8 vouchers available to all eligible families without wait lists, because that's usually the case when it comes to Section 8. People will be on that list for years. Yeah. And it's really sad because we have families of 4, 5, 6 plus, and they're cramped into a 1-bedroom because that's all they can afford. Combating gentrification, which is a big deal, especially here in the LA area. And then obviously ending homelessness and ensuring fair housing. And then revitalize public housing by investing $7 billion to repair, decarbonize, and build new public housing. Kaylin, I just wanted to start with you, and then we're going to go around. How does that resonate with you? And especially, how does that reflect your college that you work at?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the idea that everybody's always talking about, right? Like rent control and Section 8 and, stopping gentrification and all this. It seems so like, duh, of course that's what you do. And then you have people who are saying, well, we do have Section 8, and I think it's kind of important because when you say 4 years, the wait list is 4 years. I don't know if that drives it on home, that it's like a decade, so I mean, a lot of the eligibility for Section 8 is that you have children who are under 18. And there are children that would actually time you out, right? So when you first applied for Section 8, you had a child under 18. And by the time you're eligible for it, they have crossed that 18-year-old threshold, and like you're no longer eligible for it and it's baffling and it's maddening. And I don't know how, because it's been around for so long and it has operated like that for so long. People are almost comfortable with the fact that they will be waiting for, 10, 12 years for this thing to happen, so people are getting pregnant and applying for Section 8, hoping that when their kid turns 12, they'll have, an apartment to celebrate that birthday. And I think it's that, that idea of being comfortable in the systems that we have that makes it so challenging, because the person who needs it, needs it now, but all of these people who are kind of in power are so comfortable with it. And, well, it works out. It's a nice surprise when your kid turns 12, all this kind of stuff. They're comfortable with it. So it's kind of hard to move that needle in that kind of way, especially like you're talking about, it's Bernie Sanders' plan, right? So that would have been a presidential plan.
Yeah, imagine that.
To try and trickle that down though, all the way down. So now we're talking about state senates, we're talking about regional governments, all these kind of things, trying to implement that. So how long would that take? Same thing for rent control. In my presentation the other day, I said in San Diego County, and I imagine LA's really not that far off, our average for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment is almost $4,000. Not even like a
I hate that number.
It's crazy. It's so, I don't know. It's just, it's baffling. It's really baffling.
Now, Thomas, across the pond over to the UK, what's the housing crisis like over there? I'm pretty sure that, there's housing crisis all over the world, but how is it over there? And after, you give your spiel, I do want to show a video of how Ireland is taking care of that issue.
It's got significantly worse to a point where we're almost copying the American system. I remember growing up, for a long time, the UK had a council house initiative, which was basically housing that was owned by the local council, the local district or county council, which is like a region of the UK or separated regions of the UK. And people would basically buy property at a severely discounted rate, and then you would just pay like a almost like a council rent, but you can stay there forever, but you'll never be able to kicked out. But what ended up happening was council housing bills were basically stopped entirely. And so now we're in a situation where housing is completely unaffordable, same as here. No one can buy a house, let alone even struggling to rent now, which is just, and this is the situation that we're in because of private landlords just scalping property, which is essentially what they're doing. The scalpers, they're basically making it completely, they're hoarding a commodity and then just destroying people's lives, and that's what's happening right now.
Yeah, it's really disheartening to hear that, because usually we hear that the UK is typically supposed to be more progressive than the United States, and now we're seeing the fact that that's no longer the case. I want to go ahead and share something that that Ireland is doing. It's a 3-minute video, so yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that.
This government is acutely aware of the need to significantly increase the provision of housing to meet the needs of our people. The new Housing for All strategy is an ambitious plan and is designed to give people access to good quality housing to purchase or rent at an affordable price. It is backed up by an unprecedented level of coordination across government, and its progress will be regularly monitored and reported on by the Department of the Taoiseach.
At the heart of the document is a massive expansion in the role of the state in providing affordable homes for purchase and rent, while building historic levels of new social housing. It involves the public and private sector working in tandem to meet our housing requirements of an average of 33,000 new homes every year.
This plan is backed by unprecedented levels of state funding. The government has allocated €12 billion in the period to 2026 for the broad range of social and affordable measures contained in this plan. This is evidence of our commitment to expanding the options for those currently facing affordability constraints, increasing social housing delivery, tackling homelessness, and supporting social inclusion.
Housing for All is a step change in the government's involvement in the provision of housing for our people. Building homes will require a vibrant and innovative construction sector. So we'll work with industry to support and strengthen the capacity of our partners through a broad range of enabling measures, as well as fostering innovation in the construction sector.
We're also working to scale up the number of people working in the construction sector, and we will increase education and training opportunities, including apprenticeships for those interested in such a career.
We want this plan to set us on a clear pathway to greater economic, social and environmental sustainability. We can do that by making sure the delivery of housing comes alongside critical supporting infrastructure, including transport, communications networks, utility connections and beautiful green spaces.
We want to align housing delivery with the delivery of the compact growth objectives of the National Planning Framework. But in order to do this, we have to make development in urban areas more viable. So Housing for All includes measures to incentivise the activation of existing planning permission, as well as the use of penalties to ensure that zoned land is used rather than lying unused.
This policy will support the objectives of our rural future, breathing new life into our rural towns and villages, tackling the scourge of dereliction and ensuring that we provide a home for families in our rural communities. We must also continue to support the most vulnerable in our society. Whether it's the provision of rent supplement or other supports, my Department of Social Protection will not be found wanting in that regard.
Housing for All is a whole of government plan and will require a deep level of cooperation across government and with key stakeholders. We will maintain a strong focus on implementation, reporting on progress regularly. By working together, we will accelerate the delivery of Housing for All and ensure a long-term sustainable housing system for future generations.
Okay. Now, Kaylin, I want to go ahead and get your thoughts on what we've just watched. And do you even think that this is something that can be implemented here in the States?
So I've never seen that. And some of my first thoughts in watching that were, like, oh, that's great. They're working across governments, they're building all of this stuff. And then I start remembering all the construction that's going on in my city, and how it's great for jobs and it's great for housing. I don't know if it is exactly marketing to the people who need it the most. And then my mind goes to simply putting somebody in a home kind of isn't enough to end homelessness. There needs to be all of these wraparound services. And so if you're putting, millions and billions of dollars or euros or whatever it is into housing programs, even if you're creating jobs, which is great for a city economically, it may not be enough. There needs to be, there needs to be counseling services, there needs to be social services, there needs to be all of these things that go with it. So I think in an ad like this, it sounds great. On the surface, it sounds great.
Yeah, you're right, because we got to also remember what causes someone to be unhoused. It could have been a loss of a job. It could have been addiction, because remember, that's a disease, folks. It could be, not being able to just afford to live, wages have gone down. We are now to a point where 15 an hour isn't a livable wage. It's 23, it's sometimes 25. Right.
25,
so we need to address those issues. You are 100% correct on that. Thomas, you mentioned back when we were talking a couple of days ago, that there was some pushback. Could you explain a little bit about that?
The pushback that's happening in Ireland is basically private landowners, because obviously this is a long-term plan. What's essentially going on is basically they obviously can't build the housing like straight away, and so with a combination of rent control, obviously private landowners are just removing property from the market, essentially causing a housing crisis. And this is the sort of control that I'm on about with private landowners basically hoarding and scalping property. They have this much power where they can just, you know what, if we don't get away, we can just remove it from the market, and that leaves people with nowhere to go. And this is the problem with the housing market as a whole. It creates this situation where people can own hundreds and hundreds of different lets or different properties, and just decide to, I'm just going to not put it on the market. I'm just going to sit on the property because the property itself is worth more than me renting it now. I can just, just sit on this property and sell it eventually for huge, humongous amounts of money. But now you're in a housing crisis. And we just got to remember that anything like this, you will see pushback from people who have a vested interest to keep rents high, to keep property values high, because unfortunately housing is currently still seen as a commodity rather than a space to live.
Yeah, a human right. Now, speaking of pushback, I do want to also share my screen once again. Let me just do that. Now, maybe a girl, she is a former congressional candidate, also the first drag queen to run for Congress, and she's actually the first elected drag queen to be in office. So she's awesome, and she's been on the show before, and that link will also be in there too in the description. You should check it out. But anyway, she was invited to Mayor-elect Karen Bass's inauguration, and this is what she received, and this was her response. Thank you for the invitation. However, I cannot in good conscience attend this event because Mayor-elect Bass's stance on criminalizing homelessness via 4118. My decision was confirmed when I found out homelessness encampments were swept to make way for the inauguration. And she also followed up with a source because, she's awesome like that. Now, in order to fight this, issue, to fight homelessness, you have to destigmatize it. And what's happening right now is they're continuing to treat people who are unhoused like criminals. And Kaylin, I just wanted to go ahead and get your thoughts on this and just shout it out off the mountaintop.
It's actually an infuriating practice, the criminalization of homelessness, because it puts people in such, I'm already getting all distressed, it gets people in such a hole that they can't climb out of, so if you give somebody a ticket for encroachment, right, blocking the sidewalk, which restaurants do every day all over the place, but God forbid it's somebody trying to take a nap, now they have to go to court, now they have to pay a fine, but they don't have money to pay that fine, so now they have a bench warrant, now they're going to jail, now they have a record. So how are you going to get that job if you have this record? You have to explain why you did, even a weekend in jail, whatever that looks like, and it just keeps going and going into this massive cycle of homelessness. So when everybody starts yelling like higher ups, like, oh, we're gonna solve homelessness, it doesn't mean sweep them out. San Diego does that a lot. We are typically I would argue that we are an anti-homeless, city. And so we do a lot of sweeps and stuff like that, throwing whole tents right into the dump truck and just moving around. And then they start like celebrating about, oh, our numbers of homelessness have gone down, but our surrounding cities, the smaller ones, around San Diego proper, all of their stuff is going up and up and up. And because we are unincorporated areas, we don't have the same kind of funding that San Diego proper has. you know, so it's just, again, this massive cycle that just keeps going and going. And it's incredibly infuriating because it's
It
an out
really
of
is.
sight, out of mind kind of thing, you know.
And it's really, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go to you.
No,
I
no,
just
you're
wanted to say that this is a candidate or mayor-elect now
Right.
who was supposed to be the progressive opposition of the nasty who ran against her. I'm not even going to mention that fool's name. But Thomas, go ahead with your thoughts.
Well, I think that what we've got to also remember, a large percentage of people that are unhoused are working too. They have jobs. You know, I know even at my work, I've met people who have worked overnights who have told me that they're unhoused, but they're working here. And it's like, you know, it's that just shows you the complete imbalance of how much people are getting paid compared to being able to afford to live. You know, I talk about this a lot, and I've talked about this with Greg. I remember my mom, who grew up extremely poor, had to use food banks in the UK in order to feed themselves on a weekly basis, and she was able to get a nursing degree, and was able to buy a home, like coming out of a nursing degree, and that now is just inconceivable. The idea of being able to do that is just completely beyond anyone's imagination, because the money that people earn compared to how much it is to buy into a living space is just it doesn't even correlate anymore. So you've got people that are working, you know, earning $20 an hour here, and they don't even have a living space. You know,
my
it's just
sister makes $23 an hour and she's living in a $1,300 studio with her kid.
Right. It's just but back to the point about Karen Bass, unfortunately, this is kind of a trend with American elections where it's like, do we vote for the fascist or do we vote for the sort of less harmful situation? And that's where we keep finding ourselves in, which is we've got to vote for the lesser evil.
And
So
that's another issue that we need to tackle is our disgusting two-party system. But that's another episode for another day.
which is where I don't think electoral politics is going to solve the solution. I think we need to do a bit of community building and a bit of community. I don't know. It's just it's disgraceful.
It is. Final thoughts before we move on to our fun topic? Anyone?
Every day I can't believe that we're here. You know, every day I can't believe we're here no matter where we go. And I guess if we go to the UK as well, you know, we're looking at folks who are unseen and unheard and, you know, are not in political chambers, you know, their voices, their presence are not in these decision-making rooms. And it's just infuriating. So many of us are not. You know, but the absolute vulnerable should at least be, you know. It's just maddening.
It is. It really is. Well, on a lighter note, let's go ahead and move on to our fun topic. I found this on Facebook. So a mom sparks debate after asking her child-free colleague to work her Christmas Day shift. I have so many feelings, but Kaylin, you're our guest. Please give me your thoughts on this.
Child-free colleague to work her Christmas shift?
Yeah, so she'd be with her kid, basically.
Yeah. I would do it. I would totally do it. You know, somebody gets to go home and spend Christmas with their kid, and I probably get holiday pay. You know, why not?
I mean, you're nice. See, now here's where I come in. I'm not nice. I would say absolutely not. And you know why? I know it sucks that you have to work Christmas and you have a kid, but I mean, I don't have to say yes, you know, and like, that's me. Like, you chose to have a kid, you know, and it sucks that, you know, we can't guarantee holiday pay. I mean, holidays off, you know, but I mean, to even like, I don't know. It just, for me, it would just be a little like, no, I want to enjoy my day off. If I was given a day off, I'm going to enjoy my day off. And I really hope that like that mom actually went ahead and like wasn't angry after getting a no, because she actually did get a no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it sparked debate on Reddit. But Thomas, go ahead and give me your thoughts on this.
I guess for me it's situational. Like if I don't know, if I know that person well and I know that there's, I get, for me it would depend. Like it would literally depend on the situation, whether it's a yes or no. But part of the inner side of me is like, we should both be going to our employer and saying we don't want to work Christmas. We just don't want to do it.
I agree.
Right,
I agree. Like that should just be a day off. But like I set a really hard boundary because for me, like I set really hard boundaries in the workplace. I don't work past my my end time. I turn off my notifications at work. Like I don't answer emails off the clock. Like I set a really hard boundary, and I think I would have to really, 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 really love the person to work on Christmas. Like.
But I think it is situational, because whose Christmas is more important, who can say that? Because even if I didn't have kids, which I do, that doesn't mean that I'm not with family or I'm not with friends or, I'm not with anything. So I would agree with Thomas, then it is situational. What if it was my best friend or my sister who I worked with who was like, come on, man, please. And I'd be like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I do agree.
Like I would have to really love the person. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna go back to maybe situational, because I'm starting to like if it was just the run-of-the-mill coworker, I probably definitely like 99.9% say no. If it was my sister or family, then maybe I'd hate them. And they would. Yeah,
I'll work
trade
Christmas.
holidays.
Yeah, take like New Year's Day so I can have a drink on New Year's Eve or something like that.
Oh, that's good. That's good. But some of the comments were saying that like some people would just ask them like and get immediately upset. And I'm like, just because you have kids doesn't mean someone is obligated to give you that favor. And that's the one thing that pissed me off when seeing that debate was that, oh, well, she has kids. That's an automatic yes. No. That is a no for me, at least. But yeah, thank you so much for that little discussion. Kaylin, thank you so much for being on the show. You are awesome. I can't wait to have you back on the show because
yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, reach out whenever you got a topic that you think I might fit well into.
Awesome. All right, folks, that concludes another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. We will be back on Wednesday. Ta-ta.